Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, anybody who's putting stuff out in the Bronx. And in our second segment today, we're going to talk to people who have a beautiful art show on display at Anbil Bach, which is on 238th Street West, 238th in Riverdale. But to start, we're talking baseball with my buddy. Who else knows more about New York baseball than Howie Karpin? I say nobody. Nice to see you, Howie. What's going on?
I appreciate the support over the years, and you're in. You're putting me in my element. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Listen, we were in our element when we played softball together in PS 96 schoolyards. And that goes back even before we were doing this stuff.
Wow.
Anyway, Howie, let's just get right to it. My estimation is the Houston Astros were undeniably the best team in baseball, and they accordingly won the World Series.
Well, there's no question they were the best team, and also it helps justify the new playoff system a little bit more because there was a narrative created now that the Phillies had 87 wins and they made it all the way to the World Series and got through 3 rounds to get there. Everyone says, "Oh, that makes the regular season less important," but it really doesn't, because look what the Astros did. They had the best record in the American League. They had the home advantage in both series. They put Seattle away quickly. That gap between series didn't affect them at all. I mean, they didn't skip a beat, even though, they lost the first game of the World Series, and they ended up winning it, and they were the best team. A lot of times, as you well know, over the years, the best team doesn't always win, but this time it panned out. You can't place any conclusions on what the format did this year. We got to let a couple of years go by, but it does provide an opportunity for a team like the Phillies, whose flaws were going into the series were defense and postseason, were defense and bullpen. Those two flaws,
And that
they
played out.
they overachieved, and then in the end, their strength, starting pitching, cost them against Houston.
And you know what else? Look at a team like San Diego, and look at that city. They were out there. If we keep doing the same cities, Atlanta and Los Angeles and whatever, then you don't grow the game. People at San Diego are energized, man. That was a very, very good team. We congratulate Dusty Baker. I mean, this is a wonderful achievement for a great baseball man, right? The other thing that to me it tells a story about is that is not as high priced a payroll as some of the other payrolls. These guys were all gotten, kind of in a fundamental way, and that it's nice to know that can still exist.
Yeah, well, they deserve credit because they've had, turnover on their personnel, and they haven't skipped a beat. That was my big question with them going into the playoffs. Carlos Correa bailed them out a number of times in these past years and helped them succeed. Who was going to take their place? And bingo, this rookie comes in and just dominates the postseason, except for Bryce Harper. He was the best player in the postseason. They don't skip a beat. They're not getting high draft choices. So there's something going right with that organization.
And to the victors goes the spoils. They're the world champions. Let's talk about the New York Yankees. The Astros were 11-2. You mentioned they rolled over Seattle. Let's face it, they rolled over the Yankees for nothing. They were built on low priced talent. We could talk about a lot of things. Do the Yankees have to sign Aaron Judge? To me, I can't imagine them letting him get away.
Well, I just can't fathom what the plan B is going to be if that doesn't happen. Look, they knew that he could perform at a high level. Nobody knew it would be at this kind of high level. Also, you have to look at it like this. Is he going to have a better year than this, that he just had? This could be his career year. It doesn't mean he's not going to be a great ball player.
Yeah.
Just that, he may not hit 60 home runs again. You can't expect that. But, yeah, it would be a PR disaster right now if they lost him. And on the field, they're not deep in the outfield. So they almost have to bring him back.
Pete Alonso hit 53 homers in his rookie season. Listen, he had a great year. He hit 40 homers, but he didn't hit 53 again. Do you have an explanation? Did time just simply catch up to Judge in the postseason? He really didn't look like he looked through the season in the playoffs.
Well, I firmly believe now that you look back that he was burnt out from the chase. There was a lot of pressure. It may have not been the Roger Maris type pressure that we remember in 61, but, ESPN was interrupting their programming to go to the at-bats. He had questions every day. When he got to 60th, I scored that night. It's funny. I scored the game when he set the rookie record originally, when he hit the 2 to reach 50. And then I scored the game when he hit 60. He looked so relieved to get that 60th. And then he was trying to get 2 more. And, they're batting him first, which really didn't make a lot of sense for their lineup. So they were catering to him, which he didn't appreciate, I'm sure, because he's a team player. So, yeah, it may have caught up to him and burnt him out at the end.
Howie has a book coming out, and we're going to show you some of the books that he's written. We didn't want to assume people should know Howie is one of the official scorers of Major League Baseball games, and he's the one who decides if it's a hit or an error. And that ball that dropped between Judge and Bader, Harrison Bader, you were the one to say, well, it wasn't an error; it was just a bad play. It was just a double. Right? Did you score that game?
The one Bader dropped was an error.
Oh, the one that he dropped? Oh, the one that he dropped that like really cost them, that the judge ran in front of him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that was an error. Wow.
That's not a double.
All right. Yeah. And
that's an error on Bader.
Howie's
there's
proud.
An interesting sidelight to that point, which you brought it up.
Yeah.
Christian Vasquez hit that ball, right? And he thought it was caught, and he ran into the infield. So in essence, he abandoned the base path. There's a rule in the book, I think it's number 5.04A comment. If a runner abandons his base path, he could be called out, even if he thought there was that he.
So should somebody have protested that?
That's my point. The manager should have been out there. Even if you don't get the call overturned,
wow,
you should be out there. It's funny. I spoke to a number of people about that. I wasn't at that game. I didn't score that game. I actually was working my other job. But the next night I was there for game 4. And, I was talking to a number of people. And if you asked them, who do you think would have been out there on that? And they all said Buck
Showalter. Yeah. We'll talk about the Mets in a moment. So here we go. I pulled down books. Half my collection is Howie Karpin books. Let's see. This is the book he wrote about Ralph Kiner. This is Yankees Essential.
That was the first.
For Yankee fans, gotta love this book. And this I love. This was a perfect season for the Mets. That was fun with the forward by David Wright.
Right.
The current book. What is the current book? It's a big Yankees thing, right?
Yeah, New York Yankees Firsts. It's another quiz book.
Okay.
It's firsts in team history. Obviously the obvious ones: first MVP, first World Series MVP. But I also broke it down to first Gold Glove winners at certain positions. Because it played in. It was the same format as my other quiz book. So you think you're a New York Yankees fan. You give the question and then you expand on the answer with a lot of facts and little items about the player.
It's coming out in April.
Right.
Right in time for opening day.
Lions Press, I should say.
There you go. All right, we're going to look forward to that. Howie, one last thing on the Yankees, then let's just talk about the Mets. This is the list of Yankee free agents. Benintendi, Chad Green, Aroldis Chapman, Jameson Taillon, Miguel Castro, Matt Carpenter, Zach Britton, Marwin Gonzalez, and of course Aaron Judge. Other than Judge, which is obvious, my thing, the one guy they should get is Benintendi. I think he adds an element to the game that they don't have otherwise. Anybody else big on that list for you?
I'd bring Taillon back. He was pretty good for them. He was solid for them. A nice number 3, number 4. Aroldis Chapman, see ya. Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. He was a total waste.
Yes,
I didn't like that signing in the beginning. The Yankees have gotten too carried away with this power philosophy. Oh, power pitching, power hitting. They don't have balance. They have to balance out this lineup, and that's how you beat the Astros. You get left-hand hitters. Look what Harper and Schwarber did against their righties. Now, it wasn't enough, but here's another point, final point about the Yankees. the Astros had no respect for the Yankees' left-hand hitting. They didn't even put a lefty on their roster in the bullpen. Yet when they came to the Phillies series, they immediately put a left-hander on their roster
Right.
because of Harper and
Because
Schwarber.
of that's right. Howie, let's just move on to the Mets. You were telling me beforehand that when he was with the Yankees, Buck Showalter, you kind of established a relationship. What do you got on the inside? You said you spoke to Buck, who was named Manager of the Year. He did a fantastic job changing the culture and at Citi Field. What do you know about Buck that would be interesting to share?
Well, he certainly wasn't pleased about the result. I mean,
Ah,
they really thought they had a good shot, but just things seemed to crumble on them a little bit. And look, DeGrom wasn't the same DeGrom at the end of the year. I mean, you saw it.
he had a bad September. The whole September was not good.
To get racked up by the A's, it's not just one game. He got,
Yeah.
get hit around pretty good. Now there was some ridiculous second guessing about Buck going with Scherzer in game one instead of DeGrom. I mean, come on.
It it
Scherzer's your
it
guy.
didn't
He's got
work
to come
out.
through, right?
We're almost out of time. I just want to ask you about DeGrom and of course Met fans want him to be signed, but there's a caution out there. He's been an injured player a number of times, and that last month and into what he pitched one game in the playoffs and it did not go well. Um, all teams have to be aware. Maybe he wants to be paid for his past, but as much as I'm a Met fan, as you know, I'd love to see him back. I don't know if this is what you got to do.
Well, you got to really weigh what they're going to give him. The good thing is
And
they have
what
an
they would
owner,
get instead of him.
right? And they have an owner who looks like he's going to, he looks like he knows what he's doing. To sign Diaz like that without any hesitation, that says a lot to the players that this guy means business. He wants to win. So he's setting a nice tone for them for the offseason. I don't see them giving him more than 2-3 years. Maybe they front load it one big year and then the second year and have an option. His value is not going to be as great as they think it is on the mark. He's not getting 7 years. No way. Not even getting
Of
5.
course, and it comes down to what has often come down to with some of these free agents: one dumb owner. Is there one owner who's desperate to have that? The Angels, the Braves would like to bring a hometown guy back. Howie, listen, we got about 100 issues we could talk about, but we're out of time. It is always a pleasure. We'll look forward to seeing you at either one of the stadiums or both the stadiums scoring. And make sure we pick up the book. This is The Yankees Firsts by Howie Karpin. It'll be out in April. All right, we're set.
Love it. Always love talking baseball with you,
You're
buddy.
the best,
You
my
know your
friend.
game.
You do too. All right. We're going to take a short break and then we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk to two wonderful artists who are part of a gallery at Anbeel Bach in the Bronx. We'll be right back.